Suntem din nou la Cafeneaua Românească, aici la Tel Aviv. Bruchim הבאים לבית קפה רומני online. Astăzi, subiectul cafenelei românești este Sinagoga din Mediaș, o pagină de istorie. הנושא של האירוע היום, בית כנסת mediaș, עמוד תולדות של יהודי רומניה. From now we continue on in English, and we will see a movie, a short, brief movie about the synagogue in Mediaș. Here we are. One of the initiators, actually the initiator of the project is Julie Dawson, and she will address a message to us through Zoom.
Hello, my name is Julie Dawson. I'm a historian and an archivist. I am currently a fellow at the Vienna Wiesenthal Institute, and also did my master's at Columbia University. I wrote about the 19th century history of the Mediaș community. That work eventually took me back. I wanted to go back to Mediaș and to Transylvania as soon as I could and continue to work with archives there. I wrote several grants, and one of them was my work for the next 6 years as an archival surveyist. We did an archival survey of Transylvania and Bukovina for the Leo Baeck Institute, and then on the side I continued to work on these projects in Mediaș specifically. So the first one was a grant to process the archives themselves. That was in 2014, and that was the year that Alexandra Toma first joined. She began to work with us as a volunteer and quickly began taking over administrative duties And now she really oversees all the work at the synagogue and the Casa de Lunga Sinagoga, the house next to the synagogue, and has been an incredible asset to the space and the projects. That was 2014. The archives were processed. They were put in proper storage containers, boxes. There's a guide that's online via the Leo Beck's Transylvania and Bukovina Archival Survey website. It's open to researchers. Parts of it have been digitized. And then from there, we looked at the tapestries and the books. We wrote a small grant to have the tapestries preserved or restored by the Buchenthal Museum in Sibiu. That turned out to be a fascinating project. It turns out that almost all of the tapestries are handmade, were hand sewn by the women of the community. Two of them seem to be particularly old, dating from the late 18th century, which is incredible. There's nothing like that in the region. And they're also now stored at the Casa de Lunga Sinagoga in proper storage compartments for such textiles. They're also used for various exhibitions and events with the local community. That was 2016. The books were also, bookshelves were built. Some of the books were cataloged by local school students. And they're Sidurim, but there's also some secular books, and they're in German and Hungarian and Hebrew, of course, and a bit of Yiddish, really reflecting the history of the community. Romanian as well, of course, from later in the 20th century.
I will pass the floor to Iosif Klein Medeshan, born in Mediaș, well-known journalist who was for a long time worked for Voice of America, BBC, Free Europe, and in Romania also worked for a lot of important newspapers, and is first of all a local patriot of Mediaș. Joseph, please, the floor is yours.
I'd like to give just a few information, just short information about it, when it all started. I mean, in Mediaș, not around Mediaș. It started immediately after the 1848 revolution, democratic revolution in Transylvania, when Jews from the surrounding villages got the right to move closer, and eventually towards 1865, I think, they managed to start living inside the walls of that city. The first Jewish house of the city is part of history, is the Kapell house next to the walls, the fortified walls. And the rest is history until the end of the community, which in which the Kapell family played an important role, and Rabbi Reich and the other rabbis who were leading the community. So you can see, as Mr. Solomon said, you can see Julie Dawson's short film on the ICR homepage. So I'm going to try to give you kind of an insight into the day-to-day life of this community, a vibrant life for a while, for quite a while, for a century. And also about the terminal years, the last years in Romania, I mean, because somehow for a while too, the Mediaș Jewish community has survived in Israel, at least for the first and the second generation of people born in Israel from such parents. I remember when I moved to Israel in '76 until the late 80s, each year there was a sort of gathering of the Mediaș Jews in Naharia and in the north, the extreme north of Israel, where a gentleman who was the owner of the Carlton Hotel there, and he was born in Mediaș and raised in Mediaș, invited all the ex-Mediașers to there, and then by train, by bus, hundreds of people of Mediaș descent descended on Naharia, and they made merry. When this gentleman stopped being the owner of that hotel, for a while such gatherings happened in private homes, including in the home of my sister in Herzliya, and then it just disappeared, unfortunately. Now, during the war, I don't have a lot of information from personal experience from the first years of after the beginning of the community and until World War II. I don't have a lot of information. Such information will be received by the people in Mediaș who are doing this fantastic job through the help of a gentleman from Israel who is 99 3/4 old, and who just promised me yesterday that he's going to donate his huge collection of memorabilia from about the Mediaș community whenever we can go to him, because he is now a recluse. I mean, he's okay, he's 100% okay, and he wants to help in any way possible, but because of the coronavirus, we cannot just get to him. Now, during the war, when there was a German commandment in the city, and sometimes before the war, a little bit before the war, when there was a fascist government in Bucharest, the life of the Jewish community was tense in its connections and relations with the other many communities in the town, the German, the Romanian, Hungarian, Roma, and some Italians, some Czechs, and many other smaller minorities. But it wasn't very tense, I was told, because I was born after the war, a little bit after the war, except when the Iron Guard, the fascist Iron Guard people, and the Saxon youngsters were enlisted into the Hitlerjugend, made some troubles, but those tensions were eased due to the intervention of the mayor, a Saxon mayor, the mayor of Mediaș, and this is well documented that he protected the Jewish community. Then after World War II, largely, by and large, the Jewish community in Mediaș survived as such, and but it started then the emigration process, and the numbers slowly at the beginning, and then very rapidly afterwards, the numbers decreased. In the early 50s, maybe 200 left for Israel, mostly for Israel. It's an interesting phenomenon, because 90% of at least of the Jews of Mediaș emigrated to Israel and not to the United States, France, England, and so on. That's a special case. Now, let's go to my very personal recollections. I remember well all my interactions with the synagogue, with the community. I remember playing football, soccer in the courtyard of the synagogue when not studying Hebrew for my bar mitzvah. I remember all my friends of the same age, and some of them I still meet sometimes when I visit Israel. But I also remember how this pretty big for such a small city synagogue was full of people during the high holidays, during smaller holidays, lesser holidays, and I remember a lot of the people who were intermingling in that community, in the shul, in the Bet Knesset, the synagogue. Now I remember well the shochet sacrificing chickens and us waiting at the house next to the synagogue for the kosher beef arriving from Sibiu. When I grew up, we didn't have any more rabbi, but some very learned Jews ensured the religious part of the Jewish life, and that Jewish life went on smoothly. I remember, for example, when I was during Yom Kippur in 1973, I was after the university years, and I was at home for Yom Kippur. And I remember when I started hearing people moving unexpectedly, because it's a very one doesn't really make a lot of noise for Yom Kippur except for praying. And then after a few minutes, or more than a few minutes, the information came to me that the Yom Kippur War has started. I have many other stories, but I hope somebody will just try to put some questions. I suppose it's interactive up to a point, the whole program tonight.
Yes, indeed. It's on our Facebook page. Anybody can put questions, to comment, and I think a few people already did. We will check on our Facebook page. Anyway, I want to ask you something.
Yeah.
First of all, Mr. Klein, your name as a journalist is also Mediaș. It's not. It's not your real name,
story.
right?
It's a whole story. That was my first job in a radio station in the BBC in London. I was taken on board as an Israeli. I came from Israel to London, and then I used my real name, Yosif Klein, my name from the bulletin, as they say. And it seems it was too short, and Klein is such a short name that on short waves it's not clear. And I was asked to add a longer name.
Calvin Klein never was. Nobody complained because.
But he wasn't working on the radio.
Yeah.
And then I thought what to do, and I said, why not everybody to know? It would be nice for everybody to know from Mediaș that I am that Yosif Klein who lived there for 28 years, except for the university years. And then I added Mediaș. Of course, Mediaș is actually not from Mediaș, it's from Mediașul Aurit. The ele from Mediaș actually are Mediașani, but I knew quite a lot of Mediașans from Mediaș, and then I said, it's okay, I won't complicate things. So another question, please.
So this was proof of your patriotism, right?
I'm a local patriot.
Of course. So
Okay,
that's why we invited you.
For the moment, I live in Bucharest, and I cannot be a local patriot here. I'm still a local patriot of Mediaș.
Right, right. I will check on the Facebook page if we have any questions already. I will switch to Alexandra Toma, who has been involved with the activities at the Mediaș Synagogue since 2014, right? First as a volunteer, then as a project manager assistant, and currently is working as a project manager for activities and events organized in the space. So Alexandra, please tell us, how did you get to be involved to this project? You are from Mediaș, so you know from your personal experience as well. And how did you become a volunteer and then a project manager?
I'm also a local patriot like Mr. Klein, and when the first thing I should say just a bit about what Julie should have you should have hearing from Julie is that she found what now is the archive of the Jewish community. She found it around 2007, I think 2018 in the synagogue, and then the first project started in 2014. And it had as the main objective to preserve the archive. It was organized and put into a safe space in special boxes. It was organized. You can find all the information on our website. And that's when Anda Ruben was employed for this project. And one of her first activities involving the local community was to ask people from the town to help clean up the garden. Like the synagogue has been, I think, deserted for more than 10 years. So the garden was a jungle and also like a local trash point. So when she asked the people of the town for help, there were a lot of volunteers, including myself. And when I got there, I met Anda. I started helping. I painted the fence and did all the stuff we had to do. And I kind of fell in love with the place. I mean, the people who've been there at the synagogue and visited or had the opportunity to be part of the community will know what I say when I say that the place has something magical. And once you go there, you kind of don't forget it. So I started, as you said, volunteering and with the archive, and then for the second project with the tapestries, I was employed as manager assistant. And then when Anda moved out of Mediaș, I took her place as a project manager. Yeah.
And actually, what was your motivation? Why did you join the project from the beginning? And what did you know about the synagogue from before being part of this team?
Like, I think I knew what a synagogue was. I knew that that place was a synagogue, but I didn't know a lot of things about the history of the Jewish community. I think that's something that we're still working on to bring back in the local memory and in the local knowledge of that there used to be a Jewish community. A lot of young people don't really know about it. So that's one of our objectives. I think my motivation is that even though it is Jewish heritage, it's also local heritage. And because there's no Jewish community, doesn't mean that we don't have to take responsibility for it. It's our common history, and it's a local monument. Well, not per se, but it is a place to be visited and where you can learn a lot of things. And also learning about the community's history and about the place. I fell in love with it. And there's also a funny short story. I'll make it short, but while working with Anda with the documents, I found in a file of boring bookkeeping documents, I found a payroll check, and it had my great-grandfather's name written there. And I was like, okay, my great-grandfather wasn't Jewish. Why is his name and his signature from 64 here in the documents at the archive? And then I called my grandmother, and she said, yeah, she had friends from the community and she helped them when they needed help for the mikveh to fix the heating system. So I kind of took it as a sign of 50-year-old sign that maybe I am at the right place and I can help too.
You are doing an awesome job. Can you tell us more about the project itself? What is the aim? How did you start? What did you do until now? And what is to be done? As I know, it's an emergency of restoring the roof because rainy season is going to come, and there is a problem with the roof. And then to achieve more serious restoration in the future. Can you detail on this, please?
Yeah, well,
Alessandra?
as I said, the first project was for the archive, the documents of the community, and those can be found safely in the house next to the synagogue, what we call the rabbi's house. Then the second project was for tapestries and books, those were also found in the synagogue, and they're also safely stored, and the books were also the ones in German and Hungarian and Romanian have been also cataloged with the help of volunteers from the local high schools.
Just a moment. In the meantime, maybe we can show some photos, but you can continue speaking and we will put those photos.
Some of the tapestries have been restored at the Bruckenthal Museum, and whoever wants to go and visit them and see them, they can go, and my colleagues will show them the archive with everything. And our third project was we were part of a bigger European project, the Horizon 2020 funded project called Traces, Transmitting Contentious Cultural Heritage with the Arts. And there, together with Julie Dawson and Răzvan Anton, my colleagues, some of my colleagues, within that project, we managed to make.
Can you relate also to the photos in the meantime? You can see. Okay.
Those photos are actually from Hanukkah, because I wanted to say that on the side, from all these big projects that have as an objective the archive, the tapestries, and the exhibitions that were made, we also tried to have events involving the local community, and some events and some of the things that we tried to learn together with the local community was about different and other cultures and religions. And because we're at the synagogue in Mediaș, we also celebrate the Hanukkah and Rosh Hashanah. And here you can see the choir from the Lutheran Church from Mediaș, directed by Edith Todd. Those are students, local students, high school students. And every year when we celebrate Hanukkah, they come and they sing songs even in Hebrew, and we eat donuts, and it has become a tradition at the house by the synagogue. Yeah, this is from I think the first or the second Rosh Hashanah, Yoran. Yeah, and these are the people who come. I think a lot of the tourists, when they come and visit us and we tell them about how we celebrate Rosh Hashanah and Hanukkah, even though there's no Jewish community, they are surprised to hear that a lot of people are actually interested in learning about new things. And yeah, the thing is that even though there's no Jewish community, there is a community now at the synagogue again. And that was one of our aims. It was to bring life back to the synagogue and involve the local community in both preserving the synagogue and the building, the memory of the Jewish community, but also creating social and cultural events for the young people of Mediaș, and not only. And yeah, and that's why we're here, because we have a problem in the roof of the synagogue. The people following us on Facebook, they saw that there's a tiny hole in the roof. Not that tiny, but yeah, it's giving us trouble. And lately my colleagues and I, we've been raising money. So a team of volunteers from Germany will come to Mediaș, and they offer their professional help for free, but we still have to buy the materials and to offer them accommodation and food. And of course, there are other repairs. Like everyone who owns a house knows there's always something to be done. You can imagine what's to be done at a big house like that from 1896.
Okay, and tell us how can people help? Just maybe somebody wants to contribute, so
yeah, you can
share your contact information.
We have a Facebook page, Casa de lângă Sinagoga, or the house by the synagogue. There's also a website with the same name. Yeah, and you can contact us via email at synagogamediaș@gmail.com. And you can help us by donating or just by sharing, or when you're in town, visit us. I mean, sometimes we need money, sometimes we need actual help. Like we also need volunteers for the next week when they work at the roof. And also just raising awareness about our project helps. So whatever you can do, it's helpful, and we thank you very much.
Great. Alexandra, congratulations. I think we should show again the synagogue in his own recording that we had in the beginning, just to see how it looks. It's nowadays, right?
Yeah.
That's the situation now. I'll ask my colleagues to put the movie, this time the teaser, yes, without volume, and we can discuss in the meantime.
Well, I can just add that while they're showing the synagogue, is that since the first project started in 2014, the synagogue is open for visitations. Not right now with the COVID and everything, but yeah, and every year with the help of either local volunteers or sometimes in 2017 we had the youth orchestra from Hague coming all the way and helped us clean the synagogue. So every year we do a cleanup in the synagogue, the garden is taken care of, the archives. So even though we have specific projects, sometimes our activity is also to take care of the place. And every year we try to improve it with donations from tourists or our supporters. So yeah, if you visit us next year, it will look even better than now. So it's an ongoing job.
Exactly, that's an ongoing job. I hope people will raise enough money in order to cover the expenses of the restoration of the roof. So the Casa de lângă Sinagoga is taking care of this project.
Yeah. This is also the first room. We got a donation, I think 4 years ago, from a family from the States, and we managed to fix the walls, but the budget kind of ended before the work itself did. So we're also trying to.
There is the hall, right? In the roof.
In the hallway, yeah. And this is the actual. Oh, you can see the balcony.
Mr. Klein,
Yes, I'm here.
You may probably remember the times when this synagogue was full of people, right?
Full of chock, absolutely full. A lot of people couldn't enter. And by the way, this synagogue can accommodate up to 1,000 people. When I was told that before World War II, the number of Jews in the community was up to 700. When I was a young, small child, it was 500. It seems that today the synagogue is empty, but it's full of the love of the ex-people from ex-Mediaș Jews. I know I have heard that a group of initiative in Israel has already started sending money, and we hope that this program, I said we hope, I think we the Mediașers hope that this part of the heritage of the city of Mediaș will not decay, will not be left to decay, to disappear, because it would be a pity and also a crime against history.
Exactly. We just saw again the movie about the synagogue. It's a fantastic place. And anybody who wants to help, Mediaș or not, from Mediaș or not necessarily,
or
can do it.
Or the next generation, no? Maybe
Yes,
not people from Mediaș, but their children, their great children.
So they can do it through the organization, the House by the Synagogue in Mediaș. Check their Facebook page, check their website, and contribute. Actually, we have a lot of such buildings in Romania, the Jewish buildings, synagogues, and other community buildings that are in the same situation. Of course, there are different approaches, different situations, legal situations in every different place. Of course, we also receive now a lot of messages from our friends. Everybody is speaking about his own hometown, of course. For example, Kopolovic Ingrid says, I have a preference, the Credința, Sinagoga Credința din Bucharest, from Bucharest, where my grandfather was a gabbai. They asked us to speak also about the other synagogues. Of course, we could do it in the next future. Legally, there is different situation in each city, each town. Usually the local administration contributes somehow in the restoration. In some other cases, happier cases, like the Choral Temple, the government contributed, Temple Choral from Bucharest. In Constanța, in Timișoara, as I know, the local administration is contributing financially, but things are going very slowly, but surely. I hope many such cases will be solved. For example, in Cluj, the Neolog Synagogue was rebuilt or renovated from the community, from the Jewish community's funds. They sold, yes?
If I just may say that the examples you're giving are bigger cities where there's still a community. Our case, and I think there are others too, it's a small town and there's no community. So yeah, it's kind of different.
Of course. That's what I said. It's different in each case. In a big cities, Of course, the local administration is more powerful. In the capital city in Bucharest, the cultural ministry helped, and that was a different situation. In Timișoara is the project going on, the Timișoara cultural capital of Europe, which was postponed for 2023, as I know. But anyway, there were some discussions to renovate the synagogue in the center, Cetate, Sinagoga din Cetate, and the local community, local administration contributes somehow. In Bistrița, the synagogue was transformed into concert, yes, concert hall, and functioning and used by the local community. So there are different situations. What do you think will happen with the Mediaș Synagogue long term, when it will be functional already? Alexandra.
Well,
Joseph.
Well,
Yes.
I think that if we the hope and the dream, it is to renovate and restore the building and keep it the best way as we can. But yeah, it's also turned into somehow of a social cultural center. And as you said about Bistrița, that it's like a concert hall. We don't have regular concerts there, but we actually did have a concert in 2018 for the opening of one of our exhibitions, and that was, I think, the first event that actually took place in the synagogue, even though it looks like how you just saw it does. And it was amazing. It was Svetlana Kundish, she's a cantor in Germany, and with Patrick Farrell at accordion, and they played cantorial music, and it was lovely. And the local community participated, and it was, as Mr. Klein said, the synagogue is empty now, but there are events when it's full and it's nice and it feels special. So I think that's what will happen in the future. It will be for the local community. It will be open for visitations. It will be for young people and older people to come and learn things, to spend time together. And I mean, this is my personal opinion, and I hope my colleagues also feel the same, is that the building was built for a community, and that's what it needs to survive, a community.
Even if it is not the original community, it's still part of a greater community in a city, in a town, which prided itself always for being tight-knit, being together. And all the nationalities, the national communities in Mediaș always, with small exceptions, lived well together. Now the Jewish community has gone, but the city life continues, and it would be a great pity, a tragedy for the city to lose such a building, which is actually protected under Romanian law as a monument of national significance, if I remember well. Okay, not first category, but still, it's still protected. It's protected in name only. We have to protect it. All the people from Mediaș who live in Israel or in many other countries, and anybody who can help in a situation where there is no community left, then the greater world community can help. With a little, everybody can give a little bit, not a lot, but the end result would be saving this great, and in my opinion, and maybe others think the same, beautiful building, especially when it's full. It's not important. It's full of history, but let's make it so that it can be full of life again, with the other communities, other generations. Sorry.
Amen. Yes, Alexandra, you want to add something?
Yeah, as Mr. Klein said, Mediaș in Transylvania, and yeah, it has this special thing with the different ethnic groups. And Mediaș has the Romanian, the Hungarian, the Saxon, and had the Jewish community, the Roma community. And that's what we're also trying to do at the House by the Synagogue, learn about all these communities, how they've lived together and how it can go on like this, especially in times like this when sometimes you're kind of worried about how things are going in other parts of the world.
So we must hope. So we must hope. Yeah? Whoever forgets, then the future is bleak. If we are not forgetting, the future can be good.
As I said, a lot of comments and a lot of people from different towns who came to Israel, and they speak about their own hometowns. Maria Elena Boștenaru, I think I read something on about the involvement of the Mihai Eminescu Trust, right? That's a fact. Yes.
The first two projects for the archive, and the project for the archive and the second one for the books and tapestries were administered by the Mihai Eminescu Trust Foundation. And the third one, the Traces project, was administered through the Osman Durabil Association. We didn't have an organization. That just happened at the beginning of this year. The team at the synagogue managed to finally do an organization called Fanny Boimel. Fanny Boimel was the daughter of the first rabbi in Mediaș. Yeah, so that's why the first two projects were made with the help of the Mihai Eminescu Trust Foundation.
The same Maria Boștenaru asks about a book, a journal, an Italian journal in which it was an article about the restoration at the Romanian Cultural Institute in Venice. I don't know what is this story. Which restoration was that, or what is new? About the restoration of the Mediaș Synagogue, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Whatever. Robbie Klein, he's from Deva. My grandfather's name was Joseph Klein as well. Mr. Robert Klein. Thank you for sharing your interesting memories that are so close to my memories from Deva. Kopolovic Ingrid, felicitări, congratulations for your work. I hope that the fundraising will be successful and all the synagogues from Romania will be restored. Let's hope so. Okay, who else? Peter Cates, I'm a Christian living in the US, and I will pray that the Creator will always bless this synagogue and its wonderful work. Nice. Okay, we have followers from the US as well, as you can see. Egon Jakobovic, we are grateful to you, Alexandra, and we will support your activity. Actually, Mr. Jakobovic called us and convinced us that this is a goal which deserves support. The Romanian Cultural Institute in Tel Aviv. Sam Wolf, Craiova Synagogue is in pretty good condition. The cemetery needs work, however. Okay, that's a common issue in the Jewish communities in Europe, usually problems with the cemeteries. What about the Mediaș cemetery?
The Mediaș cemetery is in a good shape and it's taken care of. And yeah, the caretaker who's hired by the Fedram is doing his job, and people can go and visit them.
May I add something about the cemetery? It was in a very, very bad situation towards the end of the 1980s. I mean, just before the revolution. And then a gentleman from Israel who has lived was born and lived for a while in Mediaș, together with the son of Rabbi Reich, the last rabbi of Mediaș, made a fundraiser, and they really managed to find a big sum for those years, 15 or 30, and I don't know, I think $30,000 or so. And the cemetery, which was almost one couldn't enter it, has been restored, and the wall which was fallen was restored. So, but in the meantime, I was there 2 years ago. The situation is not so good. It's all right compared to many other Jewish cemeteries in Romania, which I visited. It's not bad, but
could be better.
It could be better.
Yeah.
Let's hope people who are responsible for that are following us as well. Yes, Alexandra.
I just wanted to add, like, there's the big Jewish cemetery, and then, as Mr. Klein said, one of the oldest families in the Jewish community of Mediaș is the Kappel family.
It's a smaller
one, and and that
is next to the petrol and gas high school.
Yeah, it's not an easy task. There are, I heard about 800 cemeteries, Jewish cemeteries in Romania, and a community which has 2,000-3,000 members. So each member, maybe six members have one cemetery. If you compute like that, and that's an incredible task to take care of each cemetery. Yeah. But Fedram is doing as much as it can. Maria Boștenaru again. In Shein it is a ruin. I mean, I suppose about the Shein synagogue. Ray, there is one which can be visited, but no community. Okay, that's good news. At least it can be visited. Lydia Elron, congratulations for the Romanian Cultural Institute. Thank you, Mrs. Elron. Sam Wolf, is there a cemetery in Mediaș? In what condition is it? So we just answered this question.
Pretty good.
Ioana Pătrășcoiu, the Cetate Synagogue in Timișoara is under restoration. Just as I said before, the one in Constanța was left without a roof 2 years ago. Oh, that's bad news. Let's hope it can be saved, even if there is no roof anymore, if that's a fact.
It is. There's also an aerial video of the Constanța Synagogue, and the roof fell in. Yeah.
That's a real problem. Without a roof, you can't preserve it.
That's why we're also trying to raise money. The roof thing is very important. I'm not a professional in stuff like this, but at least I know that the roof is very important, and that has to be taken care of. Yeah.
Right, Tzipi Grunberg, I'm so sad that this year we can't celebrate Rosh Hashanah we couldn't celebrate Rosh Hashanah in the synagogue temple choral. Right, because of the pandemics, the whole we are in the Jewish Hagim now, between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, and Jews are supposed to go to the synagogue, especially for Yom Kippur, and it's a problem right now, especially in Israel. Maria Bostenaru, okay, we answered this question. Aviva Lev Ari, Alexandra, great mission for your contribution to commemoration and keeping alive the building and its significance to humanity. Ioana Lucia Eliad, Shalom. Please share in the discussion the IBAN and the SWIFT of the bank accounts in lei and euro and the name of the responsible in charge with the fundraising for the restoration of the synagogue in Mediaș. What I can do is to share this information on Facebook with my friends. Okay. Anyway, we will link to this live session as a comment the Facebook page of the or the web page of the organization, so you can find there all the necessary informations.
Or just write to us on Facebook.
And Tzipi Grunberg, Chatima Tova, Ichere Tel Aviv. So I think we can end with this wish from Tzipi Grunberg and from all of us before Yom Kippur. Am să i-au rămas bun și în românește. Vă mulțumesc tuturor pentru participare la noua ediție a Cafenelei Românești Online. I-am avut alături pe inițiatoarea și responsabilă pentru proiectul de salvare a sinagogii din Mediaș, Alexandra Toma și Julie Dawson de la Asociația Casa de lângă Sinagogă din Mediaș și pe jurnalistul Iosif Klein Medieșan, din câte rezultă și din nume. Vreau să le mulțumesc, să le urez sărbători fericite. Suntem în mijlocul sărbătorilor evreiești. Chag Sameach, Shana Tova lekulam, ve Gmar Chatima Tova. Leitraot.